Hello, I'm here to talk with Kyle Baker about his new documentary thesis project. Kyle, congratulations. Why did you choose to make your film about this particular Basque community outside of Bakersfield?
Right. Well, so my introduction to Basque culture and history was through a Spanish teacher, actually, at the Evergreen State College. I'd heard vaguely of the Basque Country, um, but couldn't tell you where it was on a map, let alone if it was a real nation or country or what was going on. So this Spanish teacher was very vocal about Basque politics, especially movements at the time in the Basque Country, which are still ongoing. So freeing political prisoners who were being held from the time of Franco to large women's movements kind of sweeping the streets. So through her, I got interested, in traditional music and cultural revivals in the 20th century during and after Franco's dictatorship. But then I quickly began realizing how intimately intertwined the Basques' history was in the US with my own life. So I spent the first 18 years of my life in a town called Agora Hills, California. And not until I was 20 something did I realize it was named after a Basque sheep herder. Even the breed of my own dog was brought to the US for Basque sheep herders. So there were these kind of bizarre connections. So I was really drawn to the culture and the music for its vibrancy, but also this concept of hidden communities. Histories that are kind of right in front of our faces and right under our feet, that we just kind of remain ignorant to. So that's what drew me.
Okay, I can't resist. What's the breed of your dog?
uh, so it's actually like a quasi breed called a McNab. So she kind of looks like a border collie, but it was a Scottish guy named McNab who brought kind of all sorts of herding dogs to California.
Cool, cool, where they were put to work. What made you decide to get at this subject specifically through music and singing?
Um, right. So, um, I'd done some research in college on Basque music. Then in the summer of 2016, I worked at the Smithsonian Folklife Festival. And at the festival, which is held on the National Mall each year, um, I had the opportunity to see Basque performers come, and I was specifically drawn to Bertsolaris, which are improvising poets who sing in the Basque language. So I was really excited by these performances, by the improvisation, by the poetry. Um, and then I kind of soon came to find out that there were only a few practitioners left in the United States. So it was kind of thriving in the Basque Country, but in the US, the lack of Bertsolaris, of these poets, is indicative of the state of the Basque language. So Basques have assimilated over the decades, and the younger generations just don't speak the language fluently in large numbers. So music was my entry point into the project, but it also became kind of this vehicle to explore larger issues around language, around cultural sustainability, and identity in the Basque diaspora.
Really interesting. So it's kind of a rescue mission. Yeah, really, cultural rescue mission. Given that you're not Basque, how hard was it for you to gain access to this community and to get people to collaborate with you?
hmm Well, part of me wants to say it was quite easy. Basque communities are really tight knit and just very small in the US. So it sort of feels like once you meet one person, you're connected to all others, either through relatives or dance groups or Basque clubs. So yeah, I connected with the Basque Museum and Cultural Center, which is sort of the biggest Basque American institution in Boise, Idaho. And they have these ongoing oral history projects, which is how I got connected to two oral historians in Bakersfield, Janet Badeniche and Steve Bass. So I definitely piggybacked on their work for my own research, and just the people they introduced me to, the work they introduced me to. I would have been completely lost in Bakersfield without them, I think. So I was very lucky in that sense. Um, but in this day and age, as students, as young people, we usually send emails to people to introduce ourselves or explain our projects or something. But it's kind of funny that I quickly learned that most Basque people, for whatever reason, have AOL email accounts, and AOL is kind of notorious for dropping emails. So yeah, I had to go the old-fashioned route and pick up my phone and call people, which I was always met with an amazing amount of help, and people were really excited to talk about their stories and their immigration to the U.S. But yeah, I mean, it's challenging. You know, I'm an outsider to the community, so I think there's always going to be that kind of work to do.
Well, you clearly won their trust to get them to collaborate with you. Now that the film is done, what's your hope for it out in the world?
Yeah, that's the big question. Yeah, you know, I hope it accentuates the need for Basque language programs for youth in the United States. I mean, I think there's a lot of people willing to learn the language, and I think there's a lot of people willing to teach. So maybe the film will inspire more of both. And I've talked to Basques around the country who have tried to implement language learning programs through their clubs, but they just don't have enough funding to sustain them. So that funding would come from the Basque government. So I would love if the people from the Basque government would watch this. But yeah, in a broader sense, you know, I hope it inspires everyone to kind of take a deeper look into the history of migrations and immigration into their own communities, into their states, into their countries, because it's always a lot more complex and fluid than we believe. So Basques are just one of these hidden communities in California. There are a lot more, and there are new people always coming, you know, leaving a lot behind, coming to work, just like the Basques did. So, you know, I hope the film inspires us to think about the constant struggle of how to survive in the short term, but in the long term, how we formulate kind of a cultural identity around where we are and where we've come from.
That's great. That's great. I'll ask you one other thing, just for the hell of it.
Yeah.
What do you think you learned from making this film?
Oh man. Yeah.
Off script, off script.
Yeah. I mean, um, gosh. Yeah. I mean, just being a filmmaker, I guess. You know, we often enter. I mean, I've been a musician for a long time. We often enter projects like these, kind of with a goal in mind, and wrapping up with a 20-minute film for this instance. But you know, I think this project made me realize also with the music projects I've done in the past that the work never really ends. You know, so we have this like nicely wrapped 20-minute film, but these relationships and this cultural work and things, you know, carry through, and they should. You know, it shouldn't be a product, right? It should be a process.
Beautiful. Thanks, Kyle.
Thanks, Ruby.